The boy who couldn't stay still was growing up. By the time Harland Sanders was barely a teenager, life had already pressed hard against him. His father was gone. His mother worked long hours. Responsibility came early, too early. He had learned how to cook before he learned how to shave. He had learned how to work before he learned how to rest. But he had not yet learned how to belong. School never felt steady. Jobs came and went. Authority felt distant. The world seemed loud and uncertain. And inside him, there was a constant movement, a restlessness, a feeling that he needed structure but didn't know where to find it. Then he saw the uniform. The United States Army. To some boys, it looked like danger. To others, it looked like adventure. To Harlan, it looked like something else. It looked like order. It looked like a place where the rules were clear, where mornings started at the same time, where duties were assigned, where a man knew exactly where he stood. There was only one problem. He was too young. But Harland Sanders had never let a closed door stop him for long. He had learned early that survival sometimes meant bending the truth. And so, barely a teenager, he lied about his age. He signed up. He put on the uniform. And for the first time in his life, he stepped into a world that did not feel chaotic. The first morning in camp was not gentle. A loud voice cut through the air before the sun had fully risen. Boots hit the ground. Beds had to be made tight and sharp. Lines had to be straight. Movements had to be quick. No excuses. No delays. No wandering. For a boy who had grown up drifting from task to task, this felt like stepping into a different universe. Every day had a schedule. Wake up, clean up, drill, train, march, repeat. There was no confusion about what needed to be done. At first, it was exhausting. His body ached. His hands blistered. His pride took hits. Drill instructors did not care where he came from. They did not care about his childhood struggles. They did not care about his story. They cared about discipline. Stand straight. Follow orders. Move together. Think as a unit. And slowly, something began to change inside him. The chaos that once lived in his mind started to quiet down. When you wake up at the same hour every day, your body learns rhythm. When you polish the same boots every night, your hands learn consistency. When you stand shoulder to shoulder with other young men wearing the same uniform, you learn something deeper. You learn belonging. For the first time, Harland was not the restless boy from a struggling home. He was a soldier. He had a role. He had expectations. He had standards to meet. The uniform did something powerful. It erased the confusion of his past and replaced it with identity. He began to understand the power of structure. Discipline was not punishment. It was direction. He noticed how the smallest details mattered. A loose button could earn correction. A slow response could bring consequences. Every action carried weight. At first, it felt strict, almost harsh. But then he began to see the pattern. Structure builds strength. Repetition builds skill. Consistency builds confidence. In the army, no one waited for motivation. You did the task because it was assigned. You completed it because it was required. And through that repetition, something powerful formed. Self-control. Harland had always worked hard. But this was different. This was organized effort. This was focused energy. He learned to follow instructions precisely. He learned to keep his space clean. He learned that leadership was earned through reliability. If you showed up late, you were corrected. If you cut corners, you were corrected. If you gave less than your best, you were corrected. At first, it felt uncomfortable, but discomfort was shaping him. There is something about wearing a uniform that changes how you carry yourself. The fabric may be simple, but the meaning behind it is heavy. When he stood in formation, he stood taller. When he marched, his steps matched others. When orders were given, he listened. He began to feel steady. Not perfect, not fearless, but steady. And that steadiness was new. Before the army, his life had been reactive. He responded to problems as they came. He adjusted constantly. He adapted quickly. In the army, he learned to prepare. Preparation before action. Inspection before approval. Planning before movement. This was a different kind of survival. Not scrambling, strategizing. He also discovered something else. Respect. In civilian life, he had been just another young boy trying to make his way. In the military, rank and conduct determined how others saw you. Respect was not handed out freely. It was earned through consistency. Show up. Do your job. Support your unit. It was simple, and it was powerful. The army did not erase his past, but it gave him a new lens through which to see himself. He was capable. He was reliable. He could handle pressure. And for a young man who had often felt unstable, that realization mattered. The days were not glamorous. They were filled with drills, chores, and routine duties. There were no dramatic victories, no heroic headlines. Just discipline. But discipline builds quietly. He began to notice how much clearer his mind felt. Decisions were easier when you had rules. Confidence grew when you completed tasks successfully. Even his posture changed. He carried himself like someone who knew where he was headed. And yet, deep down, the restless part of him had not disappeared. It had simply been organized. That is the difference discipline makes. It does not remove ambition. It channels it. In the evenings, after the day's tasks were done, he would sometimes sit quietly and think about his future. The army had shown him structure, but it had also shown him something else. He did not want to be average. He did not want to drift again. He wanted to build something solid, something dependable. He did not yet know what that would be, but he knew this: structure mattered. The lessons were subtle, but they were permanent. Wake up early. Work with focus. Finish what you start. Take responsibility. Stand tall. These habits would follow him long after the uniform came off. Time passed. His service was not long, but it was meaningful. It shaped him in ways that would not be obvious until much later in life. When his period of service came to an end, he folded the uniform for the last time. He was still young. Still searching. Still ambitious. But he was no longer the same restless boy who had lied about his age to escape confusion. He had tasted order. He had experienced belonging. He had learned that structure could turn chaos into clarity. As he stepped back into civilian life, the world felt different. The streets were less organized. The expectations were less clear. The rules were not always enforced. No morning bugle. No formation lines. No assigned duties. Freedom returned, but so did uncertainty. Without the uniform, who was he now? Without the daily structure, how would he keep himself steady? The army had given him discipline, but it could not design his future. That would be his responsibility. And for a young man who had always struggled to stay still, that freedom was both exciting and dangerous. He carried the lessons with him, even if he did not yet realize how deeply they were planted. Discipline. Routine. Responsibility. Endurance. These seeds would not bloom immediately, but they were there, waiting. As he walked away from military life and back into the unpredictable world of civilian jobs and shifting opportunities, one truth followed him. Structure had shaped him. Now he would have to learn how to create his own. In the next chapter of his life, the uniform would be gone. And without that structure holding him in place, the chaos he once knew would return in full force. Episode 4. Back to civilian chaos. Returning from military service, Sanders struggles to fit into normal society, jumping from job to job, chasing stability that always seems just out of reach. The discipline remains inside him, but the world outside is anything but disciplined. And the boy who once found order in a uniform is about to discover how hard it is to build order on his own.